Welcome to the 10th Anniversary Memorial for Constantine Darling, held Sunday, July 11th, 2021, on the communication platform OEA, currently in beta development. This video was edited for clarity. The memorial features a slideshow of Connie's life. Due to technical challenges, the slideshow starts in its original full-screen format and then transitions to the show in progress during the memorial. This causes a short repeat. We started after everyone had a chance to check in and familiarize themselves with the platform, and we begin now with David Raby providing a short introduction.
So the tapestry of today is going to be weaving through a few people, myself introducing things, and Dee is going to be co-facilitating with Stephen and with Robert today. As well, there is going to be a small slideshow, which was quite an interesting recollection for myself when I saw a little snippet of it. So mostly I just like to welcome all of you to this space. Mara is a bit of a wizard with this space, and I'm not sure if she's already given you a tutorial of it, but there's fun things that make this a little bit more of an interactive space. Like our little bubble heads can move around and jump on each other, and smiley face, and you can private message with people. And as you'll see later, we can change and shapeshift our environment as well, which is very apropos.
Okay.
So from here, I'd like to pass it on to Stephen.
Okay. And thank you all very much for coming, making the time to come and be here. As we said earlier, there are a lot of people here from different chapters and decades of Constantine's life, but also I want to extend a very special welcome to Beth, whose bubble I just lost here. There she is. Hello, Beth. And this is Constantine's daughter, whom he never got a chance to meet, did not know about. And I want to extend the warmest, heartfelt welcome and embrace you into this extended family. And I know how you have been embraced by Gabrielle and Grace, his other daughters. But this is and how could this possibly measure up to that? But please welcome, such as we are and such as this is. Please, we welcome you into this family as well. And so I wanted to say that. You're very welcome. You're very welcome. And there are so many people here. Oh my God, there's Terry as well. Hello, Terry. There are many people here who have a particular lens on a certain time of his life. So for Beth, and if she does come later, Gabrielle, we are here. And if you want stories or insight, please always feel free to ask us. And we're going to open with doing a little boa bow practice. For those of you who have done it, and for those of you who have not, this is to rekindle. We're doing the practice to reconnect with our practice, to reconnect with Connie, and with the practice that we did with him. Also to make space in our hearts and minds for the event of the memorial. Also to connect with each other, because nothing gets people connected together as moving together. And also to connect with who we were then to who we are now. And as part of the theme of this memorial, it's to remember, like David said, the nuggets that we got back then, and how do we want to carry them forward. Connie was never one to live in the past, and I certainly have no intention of doing that. And so how can we continue to grow all of those riches? And so we'll do the bow. I'll take you through it. It's just going to be one of the animals. We'll do a few of the bow. And at some point, Dee will come in to help with the nature connection. So
all right, everyone.
Yeah.
Oh, wait for me to take a breath. We're about to take locations. If you'll all please mute yourselves. We're hearing typing and all the things. And so go up to the right-hand corner of your screen, mute yourself while we get everybody into the water.
Right. There we go. There we go. Super. Oh, so many other faces. Hello, Silas. Hello, Robin. So we'll do the boa bow. And where am I? There we are. And oh, there we are. Great. Super. So if you would like to, I invite you, take a moment. If you can stand, if not, if you're seated, that's fine. And just feel your connection to the ground through the soles of your feet. Take a moment. Feel your body and just moving from the bottom up, from your feet, your knees, your hips, your pelvis. Feel your spine. Feel your rib cage, your shoulders. Feel your arms hanging from your shoulders, seated or standing. Feel your neck. Feel the skull balance on the top of your spine. Upper arms, forearms, fingertips. And just feel your whole body. Wherever you have tension, relax it, release it, let it go into the earth. And before we get into the movement, just to tune in to the boa. So take a moment and remember a moment in your life when you felt the power of your own empathy. Perhaps it was with a child, a partner in a relationship. Perhaps it was a moment with Connie when he got you, when he extended his empathy to you and you felt seen. But feel that connection of empathy. Feel that moment in your life and connect it to your breath. Feel that empathy. Feel that moment in your life. Where in your body does that feeling reside? And as you breathe, feel like your breath is like a billow, warming and expanding the warmth, the feeling of the empathy, like throughout your body, like the way a billow warms a fire on a log. Feel, take a moment throughout your whole body, feel the empathy in the breath. With boa, boa is associated with the unconscious. So as you connect to your empathy, connect to a feeling of connecting to the aspects of yourself that aren't always seen, and you let them in. Wherever you feel tension, soften it. Good. Okay. And we're going to move through the bow. And I really don't care if you get the movements right. What matters more is that as you move, you feel like you're softening and softening, and you feel like you're floating, and you're feeling like your breath is moving you, your empathy is moving you, and you're being moved from the unconscious. And you relinquish, exhale, drop down, surrender. And as you inhale, you fill up with breath. It's the earth breathing you, filling up with breath. Your arms come up to your eyes, and you open like you're about to hug a really big beach ball. Softening, softening every little joint, floating on a helium balloon. Breathe in the energy, and then exhale like you're pouring breath like a waterfall into the palm of your hands, releasing, relaxing, relinquishing. And you exhale, and the earth fills you up with breath. You feel a wave of breath rising up your body. You feel your movement rippling out in all directions. The arms come round. You're holding a big beach ball. You're floating. You bring the beach ball into you, fill up with prana, with energy, and then release everything you don't need. Anything that you don't need, you release and give it back to the earth, who takes it and then turns it into flowers. Release, relax. And the arms, you inhale, the breath breathes you, the earth breathes you, fills you up with breath. Your arms come back around. They come up the midline of your body, dropping in the elbows, relaxing in the shoulders, brushing the cobwebs away from the windows of perception. Hold the beach ball, breathe. Breathe it in. Exhale. And just take a moment and stand and just feel soft, relaxed, every limb floating. Feel the other people in this group, even if we're not here in the same room. Connect to them in the here and now. Connect to yourself in the past and then. And for Boa creates a cauldron where all of those memories and all of those experiences are housed as one. And the Boa is connected. You sort of feel like it's a big ocean that connects to all shores. So we're going to do the bow one more time. And this time, Danielle is going to facilitate, is going to help us with our connection to nature. So take a moment and think of a time when you did the Boa bow with Constantine somewhere in nature. And I like the ocean image, but whatever works for you.
Thank you, Stephen.
Together. You're welcome. And I'll give a few minimal directions so that Danielle can speak. Dropping down, exhaling. Curling up, inhaling. Floating, bringing the energy in, letting it go out. And
Beloved Mother, Father, God, Creator, Great Spirit, great host of ascended masters, great angelic host, great and beloved precious Mother Earth, Mother Ocean, Brother Wind, Grandfather Sun, and the great mysterious ether. We give thanks for this day. We give thanks for this sacred time together to remember who we were, to remember Constantine Darling, and to remember the sacred places in which we exchanged breath and footstep, eye gaze, and love. I'd like to call in and acknowledge the spirits of these lands and these waters with whom our memories are intertwined. I call upon the waters of the Habusaupai Falls. We honor and acknowledge the Colorado River who created the Grand Canyon. We welcome you, Great Spirit. Thank you for being here and remembering Constantine with us. We acknowledge and call in the spirits of Flagstaff, Arizona, and the lands there in which practices were exchanged, conversations were had, and deep connection was felt. We call upon the spirits of Sedona, Arizona, and the Red Rock. Welcome, ancient brothers and sisters. Thank you for your warm welcome so many years ago and your continued alliance with the vortexes and the people who come to seek your wisdom. We give thanks and we welcome the spirit of Bryce Canyon. We honor the Paria River who created you. Welcome, Great Spirit. We honor and acknowledge Stinson Beach, California. You who are the shore with the Pacific Ocean. We acknowledge Elf Meadows, California. Welcome, welcome, gentle spirit. We acknowledge the spirit of Maui and the places in each of our memories where practices were exchanged and presence is acknowledged. We welcome the spirit of Salt Spring Island, specifically the Deva of Ruffle Park. Welcome, spirit. And your great shore with the Pacific Ocean there. We honor, acknowledge Mount Maxwell, the great spirit who resides there and who welcomed us so long ago. We give thanks and we welcome the spirit of Thetis Lake, you especially who homed Constantine during his time of initiation. Thank you and welcome. We give thanks and we honor the spirits of Kitsilano Beach and Stanley Park and the seawall, all of these land places who border with our great Mother Pacific Ocean. Welcome to each of you. And lastly, we acknowledge Byron Bay, another great sacred place on our beloved precious earth, where you too partner with Mother Pacific Ocean. Welcome to each of you, and thank you for bringing your memories of the time when these good people were with you in harmony.
Thank you, Daniela. Just standing in boa, as if you've got a big beach ball. Let your body just respond to the breath, filling up and expanding, exhaling and contracting, and connect with all of those places that she's mentioned. In the same way that Connie was drawn to specific places for their medicine, for their lessons, those places were also drawn to Connie and drew him in. And we are all just as connected. And so connect, feel your breath expand and ripple out to those places, whichever one feels most resonant with you, and draw the energy of that place in. Because there is no separation, and that's boa. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody. Aho matakwe asan, as Connie would say. And I think one of the places not mentioned in those locations was Ashland. So thank you, Ashland, as well.
We give thanks to each and every one of these places. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being part of our memories, and for may your next encounter with humans be filled with love and respect and joy and playfulness. Blessings to each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Some people enter your life and ignite your love of the magic and wonder that the world has to offer. Constantine Darling was a dancer, teacher, warrior, and magus. Constantine was born January 31st, 1947, in New York City. His mother, Grace, was a well-known editor in the New York City publishing world, as well as the director of publications for the Council on Foreign Relations. His father was Frank Coco Darling, who was a bass player for Count Basie and Frank Sinatra. Like his father, Constantine had an appetite for touring and performing, which often kept him from home. Constantine, who was reputed for his love of art and gastronomy, got it from his mother, who took him to all the great museums, restaurants, theaters, and dance shows that New York City had to offer. It was after seeing the New York City Ballet that he started dance at age 7. But New York is tough and kids are cruel. As a boy carrying dance slippers to ballet classes, he got teased. Constantina the ballerina. As a result of this, he dropped dance and he got into gymnastics and martial arts. His grandfather, whom he loved dearly, mentored him in the Jewish esoteric teachings of the Kabbalah, planting seeds of spirituality that would grow over the course of his life. This initiation was galvanized with numerous mystical and near-death experiences at a young age. He cherished learning and was profoundly disappointed in the schooling system. At age 15, he left school and joined a merchant vessel. He witnessed firsthand the senseless tragedies in the Six-Day War in Israel and famine in Biafra. When he returned home, he found most of his friends were either dead or in prison, as well as his draft notice for the war in Vietnam. In boot camp, he declared himself a conscientious objector and mastered the art of resistance through really bad jokes. 3 of his superior officers, however, did not find him so funny, and they took him behind the barracks one day to help him change his opinion. At some point, he began to retaliate and put all 3 of them in the hospital. For this, he was court-martialed and sentenced to 20 years. But in a scene worthy of a movie, he managed to escape and made his way to Montreal. Once in Montreal, he attended the teacher training program at Dawson College. True to his spirit of radical inclusion, there he founded an after-school program for kids to include the abled and challenged, rich and poor, English and French-speaking in the politically divided Quebec at that time. He volunteered teaching martial arts in schools for the blind, deaf, and disabled, staring in disbelief as blind kids did trampoline tricks, forever cementing blind work in his training. Also at this time, he rediscovered his love of dance. It was also in Montreal that Constantine met Linda Reynaud, also starting off her incredible dance career. Together, they embarked on an artistic collaboration and a lifelong friendship. Before long, he founded Shango Dance Circus. All the important threads can be found running here. Shango, the African god of thunder, communes with villagers to manifest in their tribal ritual. His big circus tent brought together diametric opposites to create something new. As they performed street dance and guerrilla theater, in Connie's never-ending quest to break the illusory barrier between performer and audience. And of course, they danced. Constantine was tapped by Eva von Gency to be one of the founding members of Les Ballets Jazz de Montréal, an internationally renowned dance company to this day. And they danced, and they danced. He went on to organize a dance festival at McGill University, which featured Alvin Ailey and Les Ballets Jazz de Montréal. After a successful first festival, but unable to secure funding for a second, he and his first wife, Tanya, went on a road trip across Canada and the US, seeing national parks and monuments, including the Grand Canyon. When Tanya became pregnant with their daughter, Grace, they moved to Victoria. Walking along the street one day, Connie bumped by chance into Linda, who had also just moved to Victoria. Together they founded Spectrum Dance Center, which offered dance classes in all styles, including fitness and martial arts, and acted as a hub for their dance productions. Some of these shows drew on the creation myth of the dragon, based on the Chien-lung philosophy, the martial art he taught, and which used animal archetypes as symbols of principles in transformation. As time passed, his family grew and his afro shrunk. Like his father before him, Constantine's work pulled him away from his family. But when he could be with Grace, he always strove to meet her at her level, to play with her on her terms. At Spectrum, he met Robin Ciceri, who would become his second wife. An administrative powerhouse, she had the organizational skills to match Constantine's creativity, and she helped him set up the Victoria Arts Collaborative. In Robin's words, the VAC was a complex piece of machinery. It could be divided into 3 branches, the first offering classes to the general public. Here's Constantine leading dance classes. The second branch consisted of a provincially accredited professional dance program for aspiring dancers. Constantine was involved at every level of organization, from setting rehearsal schedules to getting birthday cake for a dancer, as well as setting the choreography. The professional dance program toured their shows in schools throughout British Columbia. Constantine is seen here emceeing a show. The professional dance program was renowned throughout British Columbia and launched successful dance careers. He also organized student exchanges with the Bolshoi Ballet from Russia, as well as producing student shows at the Grand Royal Theatre in Victoria. The third branch of the Victoria Arts Collaborative was Constantine Darling Productions Limited. Constantine Darling brought giant names to a small town, and Victoria stood tall in the dance world. He brought Alvin Ailey, Evelyn Hart and Rex Harrington, Ballet, British Columbia, Michel Lemieux, and Mikhail Baryshnikov and the White Oak Dance Project in their only Canadian city performance. And all the while, he taught Chien-lung. Always weaving opposites, Constantine included martial arts demonstrations in the school tours. And during all this time, he took us out into nature to train. On one occasion, the outdoor training included students from Pearson International College. And all the while, his family kept growing. He welcomed into the world his second daughter, Gabrielle Ciceri. Constantine and Gabrielle loved each other very much, and they were always forthright with each other. It was always one of Constantine's greatest regrets that he could not be there for his daughter as much as he wanted to be. But the small town of Victoria could not support the outsized dreams of a natural born and bred New York impresario, and after the VAC went bankrupt, Connie moved to Salt Spring Island. He came to Salt Spring with the intention of compiling material into a book on martial arts and energy work. He developed core energetics during this time and continued to teach dance and fitness classes while conducting blind work in nature, catering to people on and from off island. Inspired by Constantine, A group of 15 to 19 people lived together at the old Crofton house, training in Chien-lung and core energetics. The work on Salt Spring Island inspired new friendships, people who provided support in the form of jobs or attending fitness classes. Within that first year, Constantine choreographed the group, along with local high school students, in another version of Dragon Myth and showed it at the Edmonton Fringe Festival. By the end of the second year, Constantine and the group had produced videos that consolidated material from core energetics and sub-earth dragon yoga. Around this time, he tested some of his students in Chien-lung for their tiger patch, the equivalent of a black belt. The book was not written, but it would come later. After about 2 years on Salt Spring, Constantine then moved to Vancouver. There, Constantine continued to teach. He co-produced health and fitness expos and continued to lead groups in outdoor adventures, doing blind work, kayaking, and whitewater rafting. But really, it was all about having mochas with friends. After staying in Vancouver 2 or so years, he romped around Hawaii, Australia, and Thailand. He taught that fun in nature is healing, and that healing in nature is fun. People sought him out for personal growth and to revitalize what community could possibly mean. Constantine often spoke of a group of people working together the way that the hub, the spokes, and the rim form a wheel. He was chasing something elusive, trying to build a group that had an identity that was strong enough to create what he considered a membrane, an ability to dream link together as a group at night while asleep. But in the end, it came down to connecting to the earth. Connecting to the earth was connecting to yourself. And of course, stick balancing. Lots of stick balancing. Breath and energy work to invoke dragons and the elements. Always the impresario, he produced a picture book on connecting to the earth, creative projects which engaged old friends, and made new ones. Around 2003, he returned to mainland USA and lived in Mill Valley, California. He continued teaching and making new friends, and his students in martial arts started having students of their own. He moved from Mill Valley to San Rafael, where he started another live-in community called the House of Creativity. It focused on internal development and artistic production. During this time, he co-authored a book with Terry Salvatore called Romancing Sleep, capturing his approach to dream work. During these years, he continued his outbound adventures, calling them Inner Vision, Outer Quest. These were incredible journeys, and people embarked on them to re-envision their lives and their relationships. Imagine being on this journey and learning and practicing tiger wrist form, Bagua circles, maybe on top of Mount Tuolumne, or at the bottom of the Grand Canyon. But wherever it was, you could count on Constantine to take you from one extreme to the other. You had to ante up. You had to set your own intention for what you wanted. But if you did, you would be moved in part by the magic of the land and by the practice of breath, movement, and energy. Building a sense of community by practicing together, as well as practicing alone. And of course, with the all-important play. I have no idea what this is, but it looks awesome. So much change happened in people's lives from the friendships they formed on these trips. And all during this time, his family continues to grow. He walks Grace down the aisle and watches as Gabrielle becomes a writer with an incredible eye for detail. And soon he's blessed with grandchildren. Having never lost his sense of play, he loves to play with them. By the time of the Canyon trip in 2010, it was clear that Constantine was ill. Yet he pursued his quest of an ideal community, a community founded on the very same principles he had choreographed into dance pieces years earlier. He had found an inkling of that community in Ashland. A tight-knit community of friends avidly learnt what he had to offer and provided him support in his time of need. He passed July 11th, 2011, of throat cancer. And yet it is the mark of a man full of love and power that his family keeps growing. Constantine had a daughter whom he did not know about, Beth Nierenberg. She had only found him a year after he had passed. In the space of 5 minutes, she found out that she had missed her father and had inherited 2 great sisters who immediately embraced her as family. And she is the mother of 3 boys, and Constantine would have been thrilled to meet Nicholas on the far left, Oliver there in the middle, a dancer himself, and Xander on the far right. The family is a proud member and loved and supported by the LGBT community. Here's to more love in the world. Thank you, Constantine, for the endless sacred days you gave us. Some people enter your life and ignite your love of the magic and wonder that the world has to offer.
And actually, the first time I watched it, it was quite a mixture of memories and emotions. In honor of Constantine, I'm currently eating a tub of chocolate ice cream. And I have a small segue to share with all of you while I eat my chocolate ice cream here. Literally, I was on half an hour before this call, I was on a little island about 5 kilometers away from Salt Spring that I had paddleboarded to, and realized an hour before that I needed to boot it back. But not only was a headwind on the way back, but going halfway across the pass, the most gigantic freighter that I have ever seen starts coming around the corner. And I'm like, I say to Freya, my partner, I bet we can get in front of it, and I'll still be in perfect time for the call and no problem. And as I'm like paddling as hard as I can, and this freighter that reminds me of Constantine is barreling like in front of me and 10 times higher, he starts honking his horn, basically telling me to get the hell out of the way. So, so we literally had to sit there for 10 minutes while this thing went barreling past and created a huge wave, and we nearly didn't make it, and then continued paddling. And so I apologize for being a little bit late, as the sort of random element of spirit created that. And speaking of random radical elements, I would like to introduce Robert next, who's one of the most wonderful radical people I know, and I've known even longer than Constantine.
What an intro. Hi, everybody. Just feeling so grateful that we're together, and just also feeling quite impacted by seeing that really beautiful montage that you've put together, Stephen, such heart and soul. And So I'm just wondering, Mara, are we going to be moving to another space just to have an opportunity to hear each other's voices and to share some stories and memories of our time with Constantine?
Yes, is the short answer. Let's find let's find Stephen. Hold on.
That's
Stephen, will
Silas.
you drag yourself down? Hey, Silas,
Sure.
you're in the campfire. I want to hear your story. There you have it,
There
Robert.
we go.
Oh,
How does that
yeah.
work?
Mara, this is beautiful. Again, this platform to be able to have this create some intimacy in the imagination online is a powerful, powerful offering. So
Yeah.
thank you. Before we get started, I also want to acknowledge Stephen the amount of, well, really the seasons that you've been holding in preparation for today's event. And I know for many months you've been really leaning into this and thinking about the value of what it means to show up 10 years later for a mentor, a teacher, a co-mentor on many levels as well, and somebody who's impacted everybody's life here. So one of the things we're going to be doing is just trying to create a bit of more of intimacy around how we can share some of our stories together. I think we've got about half an hour, but we'll see where it goes and what feels good. Knowing there are about, I'm not sure, I'm not seeing as many bubbles as I saw earlier, but there was at one point about 26 or 30 of us.
Can I give a quick intro on tech for this?
And that'd be wonderful, Mara. That'll really help us figure out how to show
Great.
up for each other.
Well, welcome to a story sharing session here, guys. This is a space where you can click into these slots in the campfire, and Robert is going to be hosting us and helping facilitate this. This is the time for us to tell Connie's story or our stories with him. I'm going to limit the number of video bubbles that are all up, or I might just shrink us. And if you're up in the top, you're not going to be able to be heard. So I'll put a few small bubbles off to the side. You can kind of like queue up, and then I'll turn it back over to you, Robert. And we've got a amount of time here, and I'll let you talk about the rest of that.
Great, thanks, Mara. So when you say queue up, how would somebody indicate to you that they're interested in stepping up to the fire?
That's not the way. I'm live editing this, guys. It's kind of a fun. Daniela, you are in the room. You're simply not in the participant bubble to be spoken of. So like, here's Mark. This participant bubble, I'm going to make clickable in the corner here. We're going to have it be slightly visible there. And you can click into the side. I'll put two of those in. You can click into those, and then we can just know that there's people queuing up to tell the next story. There's going to be 4 people down here that are audible, and everybody else can just kind of queue in to take the next. Silas is permanently in the fire. Well, Silas, I can move you if you don't want to talk right away, but I know you have stories. All right. I'll move you out and you can click in. It's okay. Okay. And unmute yourself if you want to come back. And I'll hop off. Did that answer your question, Robert?
I think so. So one more time, just if you are interested in either being in queue or close to the fire, do you simply move your bubble to that place?
You can click in. Move your mouse over this spot that's open that Silas just vacated and I'm about to vacate, and you will be able to either grab your video bubble and click in like David just did, or pull yourself back out. So move your mouse over your video bubble in and out of these spaces.
Right. Thank you. That's wonderful, Mara. Can I invite people just to click one at a time, just put themselves close to the fire, just so we get a chance to use the technology a little bit and also see some faces close up that we may not have seen for years, wave at each other. I'm gonna get myself out of here for a second. Can I do that? No. Yeah. space.
I'm just going to test and see if I'm being heard now or not.
Heard you.
Oh, amazing. Okay, I can't hear myself. Nice to see you, Alper, beside me on the fire. Alper and I, met through Constantine, but not through being in the same physical space when we met. And I just wanted to say, because I mentioned at the introduction, I started in the first circle with Constantine in the Chien-lung class in 1978, 79, 1980. I mean, that's why I decided I'd sit by the fire first. Those were the days. Wonderful watching the slideshow.
Okay, play.
Oh,
I'm trying.
can we hear me?
Blocked by your browser. Play. Gosha, we can hear you.
We can hear Ocean. Can we hear Linda? Or?
Gosha, can you hear us?
Having trouble playing this.
Okay. Shall I continue?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, I enjoyed hearing, one of the synchronicities in this whole lifetime with Constantine for me has been the dream element. And so as soon as I saw this was happening today, I thought, yeah, gee, it wasn't long ago I had a dream about Constantine. And, he shows up in my dreams. And of course, he's not in this world per se in the dream, but the messages remain. And so I figure I was like in my mid-20s when we met. And it's an impressionable time. You're searching, you're, longing for connection in different ways about your purpose. And I actually met him as someone very close to me was dying. And so, the life-death experience, the overlap was very strong. The day that Constantine translated out of this world, the night before I had a dream of whirling with him. I do whirling dervish dance. So I had a dream that we were whirling above the earth together. And I'm like, oh, wow, powerful. And I next day got a message, saying, yeah, he's gone from this world. So the last dream I had of him was just a year ago, I think. And it was just, he's still providing guidance, when I need it. So it's really sweet to just be here with you guys and say, yeah, it's been a long journey and thank you. Am I the only one at the campfire?
There's more people. Hi, Susan. Welcome.
Hi, Robert. Thank you. This has been so wonderful, and I wanted to put out a big thank you to Stephen for offering the BOA at the beginning. I had a strong deja vu of classes with Constantine on Salt Spring Island and wherever we were, and that empathic field work that he was doing, and the sense of knowing myself that I had at those times, the deep knowing of my physical self, and just a sense of awareness that I don't get anywhere else other than being very present in the body and opening up to the sensation of just being. And I was really moved by that experience, as well as seeing all of my old friends here. And I would love it if we could do a class once in a while and a workshop in person. It was very evocative and very profound work. So I'd love to bring that back into my life as a group. I also dream of Constantine often, and it's always very profound. It's often involving crystal clear blue water in a desert, and also often connections with people who were part of the group when I was involved around Constantine's Chien-lung and other work. It's been really beautiful seeing people in dreams, but it's even lovelier to see everybody here present on the platform. Thank you. I think that's all I have to say. Is just I'm so happy to see everybody here and to be remembering Constantine and really feeling his presence in this moment and his impression on everybody how profound an influence he's had on this world through all of us and all of us here.
I was just thinking maybe for those of us in the West Coast region of Canada, Susan, that we could all join again at Beaver Point Hall in the next several months or so and have our own gathering and rituals and bring that practice of being together back to life. Yeah. Thank you. It's so good to see your face. I miss you. It's amazing to see one another, and then the heart floods with those memories of those shared times.
Stinson Beach and dried strawberries. And sleeping on top of a mountain with the wind in all directions.
Oh yes, I forgot about that piece. So if somebody else's name is mentioned during the process, please just join by the campfire and let us be lovely just to build some empathy, some BOA empathy by the fire, that if when somebody's sharing, if you could both support them and also take the risk of being by the storyteller's fire, that would be really helpful and really lovely. So who else would like to have a chance to an opportunity to share some of your stories? Welcome.
Can you hear me? No, everyone calm? Can you hear me?
Hear you. Yes.
Okay, because I can't. Well, Robert, you said risk. Ooh. I think I met Constantine when I was 5 years old. 5, 4, I don't know, really young. And I was involved in ballet in Victoria. And a ballet dancer would always say, you got big butt and thick thighs, and you really are more like a jazz dancer. So I started doing classes with Linda at Spectrum, and only like one day a week, because all my mom could afford and all that stuff. I think they gave her some financial assistance because we didn't have any money, and it's like dance was expensive. And Linda blew my world. Like, she was just the most amazing woman in my life. I don't know if you ever knew that, Linda, but if you're still there. And then she couldn't make class one day, so Constantine came in to teach the class. And I think I was 7, 8 at the time. I already knew him. He was already doing Chien-lung in the park with my mom's boyfriend, who was a naturopath. And he intimidated me to no end. I was just, I couldn't move. I was so intimidated. But then I'd watch him move, and it was so beautiful. And I was like, oh, and him and Linda. And so this whole happened. And then, in the slideshow, you didn't mention the breakdance classes and the runs around the lake, Thetis Lake. And he was involved in every fabric, every layer of my life until I left Victoria. And I was still very intimidated. And I knew about Chien-lung. His other very long time student, Blaze, used to take me and teach me Chien-lung when I was 8 or 9 years old, out into Goldstream and different places. And we would always be the cat. So he was very much into the cats. And I don't know where I'm going here, but it's just he wove throughout my life, but I was still always very intimidated, scared. So Robert, when you said risk, I was like, oh, I can't talk. And I saw sides of him that were difficult and challenging. I didn't like, and sides of him that just taught me so much. And it was an interesting relationship. And then when I moved to Vancouver, I saw that he was practicing down in Stanley Park at the main beach. And my son, Silas, was just a baby. And we walked by, and I'd actually pretend not to know him because I didn't want to talk to him because I was still intimidated. It's I don't know why. And then Silas got a little bit older, and then I had Orion, and so the two boys, and they were still practicing, and they were really interested, and they were like little characters, and they were just interested in everything he was doing. So we'd sit and watch, and then we did have a talk, and then a little bit, and it was nice to reconnect with him. Years later, got reconnected through David, who also knew Constantine. Anyways, ended up, the boys, my boys, ended up having a relationship with him. We ended up at the Havasupai and Grand Canyon, and those trips and more time involved with him. And I'm like, you're still intimidating me. You're still weaving through my life, but I'm like scared. And, you know, my last trip to the Grand Canyon, it was very early in the morning and everyone was sleeping. And he got up and I said, I'm going to make you your coffee. And we sat there, the two of us, there was no one around. And he said, Ocean, can you help me? He said, I said, I know you need to leave. And he says, but I need help with that because I'm not going to be able to do it by myself. And all my intimidation, everything just went gone. And I was his friend, his equal, and we had this, for half an hour, we had this amazing conversation. All intimidation was gone. And I said, I'm going to facilitate you leaving because you need to go. You're not well. And we're going to take this over. And so as people kind of came out of their tents and whatnot, I approached the other facilitators and said, we need to help him leave because he doesn't want to go. And he needs to go to take care of himself. He needs to go. And so we kind of got that on. And when I gave him that that's the last time I saw him. It just, everything melted and made sense. And I went, okay, wow. This person is woven like all these levels of my life. Now he's impacted my children as well. And I had a tremendous amount of gratitude. It was good. And thank goodness for him bringing breath into my life for sure. So just wanted to share that. And Linda.
Thanks, Gosha. You're amazing. You guys, there's a clapping thing. I'm just going to do it.
Hi.
Peter, can we hear you? Are you muted?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Well, hi everyone. Geez, man, this is almost overwhelming. I mean, I don't even know what to say here, but it's just such a treat to see so many of my sisters and brothers in one place. It's been a long time. I really relate to what Ocean said on many levels because my experience with Constantine was I spent a lot of time with him. Met him in 1997, and the day I met him, he changed my life. And he both scared the shit out of me and also made me feel more comfortable than I've ever been in my body and in this world. So, yeah, it was always intimidating. And even Constantine told me, I remember him saying, he says, that's what I do. I make people uncomfortable. So I think everybody in this room probably relates to that on one level. If you spend any real time with Connie, he scared the shit out of you and he took you to the places that you didn't want to go, but you were way better off after going. But God, there's so many memories, so much magic. And, you know, God, I don't even know what to say. The one memory that's coming to my mind right now was one of the last times that I saw him. And it was just such a perfect example of his warrior spirit. And at the time, he was pretty sick. I think it was in Ashland, and he wasn't doing well. So I believe I went up. I think David showed up. we had a crew. Erwin, who's no longer with us, was one of Connie's best friends, and he was there. A bunch of us kind of went to Ashland, and he was, I don't know if Connie was in the hospital or maybe he just got out, but Destino was there. We all went and took LSD and taught a Chien-lung class together in Connie's honor. So, but then Connie showed up, and it was at breakfast. And it was the first time I had seen him in a while, and he was skinny, and he had this big like lump in his throat. He could barely speak, but we all went out to breakfast, and Connie orders like everything on the menu. And he orders like a plate of pancakes, and he orders eggs, and he orders coffee, and he orders like everything. It was ridiculous. But he could barely speak, and he couldn't swallow. So it was like we sat down with Connie, and it was like we've had a million breakfasts with Connie. And it was like I'm looking at Connie, who weighed probably like, I don't know, 120 pounds at the time. And I was just kind of in shock. I hadn't seen him in a while. And Connie eats that breakfast, everything on the plates, and he like chewed it up and spit it out, and then chewed it up and couldn't swallow, so he spit it out. But one more, bite of food, every one of those pancakes got taken down and spit out. But he couldn't swallow, but he still ate it. And I don't know, that's like, I have a million memories of Connie. I lived with Connie for many years in the San Rafael house, but that's what sticks with me right now is like watching Connie eat that breakfast that he couldn't eat. And it was like, he told me, he's like, what is a warrior to you? And he said, to me, a warrior means like, I'm still here. So yeah, I think I saw Connie in a dream like 4 days ago. I always see Connie in dreams still. He's always out there, and he's always immediately in my life. After I've known him since 1997, and I think about him all the time. So yeah, super impactful. Probably no one has influenced me more. So it's just a pleasure to be here and reconnect and see all these faces that I love, who I haven't talked to in a while. Silas, Gosha, Ocean, and Samir, people who are brothers and sisters now. But I love you guys, and the dream is still real. I'm not done. I still train every day. So hi, Silas. Constantine's spirit's still alive.
Here, I might even be able to kiss you like.
Right back at you, brother. I don't know if I have anything more to say than that. There's got to be a million other people who can speak. So just love you guys.
I'd be happy to speak if it's my turn.
Yep, you got it.
Aw, well,
You got it.
thanks. I'm Linda from Victoria, and we met when we were 22 because we both are from the same year. So we were 22 years old in Montreal when we met, and he's been part of the deal since till 3 weeks before he died. And one of the phone calls that came in, I was so embarrassed, was from my son, Paolo, who was in Dragon Myth on Salt Spring. And he just texted me to say, please tell everybody that I loved Connie so much. And he actually wrote some beautiful words about Connie. But I really wanted to say that suddenly in my life, Dance Victoria here in Victoria has asked to do a book about Constantine and me bringing modern dance to Victoria in the 80s. And so all of a sudden I'm going through all my pictures and all my videos and all this stuff, incredible memories, and Connie's right here again. And that's just fabulous to to have him right here all over again. When you look at pictures of you dancing when you're 24, 25, 30, when I was pregnant, I mean, we did our first piece together when I was pregnant with Sorrel, and he was pregnant with Grace. And, you know, we've been through a lot, and you all have done so many things with him. And I will never forget when I opened my front door and there was Beth. And there she was with his face, with the space between her teeth, just the same. And I thought, oh my God, Connie, you cloned yourself in Beth. And it was so great to meet her after not knowing of her. And your family here is very touching. And I'm happy to be here, but sadly my dog has to poop and is outside going, rah, 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 we gotta go. So I'm going to have to just slip away. But Stephen, you just are so wonderful for doing this. It's really cool to see Connie's legacy and how it will never ever die. And I'm loving having him near me right now as we work on this book together. So blessings to everybody. Really nice to be here. And my son Paolo says he loves Connie.
Oh, so lovely to see Linda. Am I being heard here? I love that somebody. I love that somebody said how Constantine. I think it was Susan. Hello, Susan. How Constantine scared us and frightened us, and I remember when there was a group of us. Maybe it was 93 or 94. That somehow Constantine came up with some sort of a plan to put us in a theater production, and without knowing much about what it involved, myself, you know, and several others all said, yeah, sure, okay, that sounds good. And not really knowing that it was going to be a musical Shakespeare ballet. And as a person who had no inkling or understanding of dance, now I had only gone to the Chien-lung, not realizing how much of Chien-lung actually was dance, I suppose. When it was finally sprung that we were going to be passed off as dancers, I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified to show up in that studio with Linda Reno and these other people, that they would find out that I couldn't dance, that I wasn't a dancer in any way, shape, or form, and I was absolutely petrified. But Constantine said, just follow along, and you know, we'll figure it out. And then even more terrifying than that was when we were told that we were expected to sing. So this was quite terrifying, and I think there was just enough stage fighting in there to keep some of us comfortable. So that was quite a wonderful. I feel like that was a bit of a prank that he pulled, and he pulled a couple. But I love the way he led us down that path, and I thank him for that, because I got comfortable singing, and now I sing to my child, and I probably wouldn't have been comfortable if I hadn't been shown how to do that.
Well, I know Constantine in a different way than most of you do. I did not train with him in any way, nor participate in the ways that you did. But I see how deeply he's touched your life, and he's deeply touched my life. We met probably the first week when he arrived in California, and I was in a community at the time, and he came up with a person who had just met him, and he and I started talking. I had a spa company at the time, and so I invited him to start doing body work with me, and he did for many, many years. We did body work together up at Ions, and we worked for in Sonoma, where I had a spa in Sonoma, and he worked with me. They had great hands. He was a really masterful body worker and knew the body, as you all know, because as a dancer and a mover, he was really connected to that. we became spiritual friends. I guess about the best way I can describe it. We both love the same kind of movies, and so as he got busier and busier with all of you, he and I would catch a good movie during the day. He'd always sit on the end, and we would watch the movie and have popcorn. And that was kind of the way that we connected in the later years, except for the last week of his life. He called me. He was down in Mill Valley, and he called me and said, "Look, I'm too weak to drive back to Ashland. Will you drive me back to Ashland?" So I thought it was going to be a one-day trip. It turned out to be a two-day trip. We got about halfway, and he was too overwhelmed with the drive and too dry, so we had to pull over and go stay in a motel for the night for him to kind of recover before we could drive on into Ashland. And we just had 2 days of visiting with each other and talking. And of course, you know, many of you know, he in his healing journey, he went to John of God and several times and tried many different things, which didn't really give him the result that he wanted. But when I left him, right before I left him, he looked at me and he says, "You know, Larry," he says, "I have to tell you this." He says, "I found God." He says, "I know God exists, and I have my own personal experience of that." And to me, that was the completion of a journey. So a couple of days later, I actually left him in Ashland and caught a ride back to Mill Valley. And so when I left him, I knew that the journey was complete and that whatever happened was fine, and he was fine with it. One thing about Connie, he didn't suffer. He was always present with his life, and he was always present to the end of it. And so he died the way that he lived. And I'm like you, I miss him every day. I have, you know, we have very few spiritual friends in life, people you can really be yourself with and they're really themselves with you. And he was always that way with me. So I love him a lot, miss him a lot, and grateful to see how he's touched all of your lives too. So thank you.
Gosha, do you have a story for us?
There I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, everyone. It is so lovely to see you all here. Brings so much joy and warmth to my heart and tears to my eye. I just wanted to share a few things about Constantine and some of the things that he's... Hi, Peter. What Connie brought. I feel... to me, Connie, hi Marcus. To me, Connie brought inspiration and he brought joy, and he had a great way of coming into the unknown, coming into chaos and dancing with it and bringing life and vitality, curiosity, inspiration, and imagination. And he has just impacted me so much to explore all those aspects of life that are not always tangible. And it was one of his greatest gifts to me to understand also polarities. Right now, as a teacher, I teach Waldorf training and I work with children. And I've been doing the blind work. I've been doing the Bagua, the breath work. And I'm always working with these teachings that he shared to understand and empower and bring sovereignty to individuality and freedom. And I feel like he embodied that so deeply, is this uprightness and sovereignty. And as I see these young children come up right now, I can see how much that is needed in our culture, in our society, to be able to speak from that place of confidence and knowing yourself and different aspects and perspectives of self. And balancing polarities in today's society is not easy, but that's something that he has empowered with his teachings. And I will treasure and love him always for that, because whatever he taught me, I am able to pass on and share and play with in a landscape of fun and nature with the children. And it's magical. So it's just like, yay, Connie! And I just, yeah, he gave such a vision, and inner vision and outer vision, an ability to hold the will, hold the heart as a tiger, hold the space as a boa, for all those elements and the overview and everything. And for me, this several memories that I really deeply cherish as I was with the Justice in the Grand Canyon, and Peter and everyone. And on this last day, we had this great epiphany. And one of my greatest epiphanies in my life occurred on one of the vision quests. And there I was with Justice, and Connie comes around the corner and says, "You crazy kids playing with Chi." And he just, he just knew this inner realm of life, and it's his consciousness is so timeless. And then one other piece I just wanted to share. I had this dream about Constantine, and I was coming down the canyon walls just as a spirit, and I saw him walking a group of people in this dream, and I saw him just stop for a moment and experience the wind hitting his face, like as though it was kissing his face. And I felt like I could turn into the wind in that moment, and I gave him a kiss on his cheek, and I said, "Thank you." And I felt that he felt it. And it truly felt to me like somehow with Connie, we can transcend time and space and still meet and say thank you. And he could receive it even in another time. But we can meet in this time that is now forever. And he knows that he is a time traveler somehow. But I felt I could connect to him in that space, and I feel so humbled and grateful that that he shared that. And one other dream I held with him, and I saw him, and this is when he was transitioning, was I saw him in this new realm, sitting in this lotus Buddha position with his bald head, with this tranquil lake, and creating a new reality on the other side before he even transitioned. And he just knew how to be in different time and space at the same time. And I just want to honor that timelessness that is his soul. And that's all I wanted to share. It's so beautiful to see you all. Thank you for giving me a chance to speak at the fire. And I love you all. And I do hope that we all get together at some point. Thank you, Mara. I love you too. If anybody's around on the Sunshine Coast this Friday, I am having a music jam, and there's probably like 50 people coming here on the Sunshine Coast in Gibsons. Feel free to give me a shout. I would love to see some of you come out here if you're in the region this coming Friday afternoon. I think Silas and Ocean and some people are coming. And anyone else is invited. Mwah! Thanks.
I would totally like fly in if I could win. Such a good invite.
Okay, I'll go next. Can you guys hear me? Okay, great, excellent. I'm just so blown away. What an incredible thing that we're doing. I'm just so touched and so moved. It's endless. I think what Constantine was really endless. I don't even know where to start, but just a few things I feel really moved to share. So when I met him, I was 17 years old. I had just arrived from Turkey. I was attending this very special international school, Pearson College in Victoria, and Constantine was supposed to be the martial arts teacher as an activity leader at our school. So he arrived with a whole entourage of some of his students. And he was giving this demo on stage with a lot of the physical movements, right? The Chien-lung. But he would say things. He would, say these mystical things. He would show some movements and he would say, and this is how things work in life. This is how energy flows. And I could feel this something in him. So anyways, right after his demo, I go up to him. I'm only 17 years old. And there's like about 15, 20 people waiting to talk to him. And I waited my line, everybody was asking him questions. So it was my turn. So I stood up in front of him and I looked him deep in the eyes and I said, I'm not interested in this martial art that you're doing. I'm not interested in these movements at all. You're doing something else. I said, I want that. I have no idea where the intensity came. I'm just a 17-year-old. And guess what he said? This is like in between 15, 20 people. He said, sit down. So we sit down cross-legged and we start doing this eye-gazing meditation. That's how I met him. Like my first few moments of meeting him, we were dropping, and I asked this of him, right? I said, I want the deeper stuff. And he says, let's go. So that's how I met him. Another breakthrough moment was, I'll never forget, we were in the dance studio in Victoria. It was fairly early, and I was getting close to him, but not too close. And I was having a lot of difficulty with the tiger because I like to be gentle and spacious, and you got to push yourself, right, in Chien-lung. So we're supposed to do tiger, and I really didn't want to do tiger. I couldn't even move my body. My body was getting numb. I don't want to do. I can't do tiger. There's no tiger in me. So I remember closing my eyes because I couldn't move my body, right? And I had this idea. I'm just going to imagine myself doing the tiger breaths. I can't move my body, but I'm just going to imagine doing myself. So I was just using my imagination and doing the tiger. And it was a huge dance studio, right? Maybe like 20, 30 people in the class. So I'm doing this with my eyes closed and my energy shifted, right? I had a moment of a breakthrough. So I opened my eyes with my energy shifted and feeling much better. And he's looking at me like an eagle from the other end of the studio. And he screams, yes! Yes! He was incredible. He knew, and he could guide. And from that moment on, I had the closest relationship with him. And he told me, he said, I trust you now. I know that you're taking this seriously, and I'm going to guide you, and I'm going to give you more than I used to. So anyways, there's a lot more I would like to share, but I want to give other people a chance to. Thank you so much. And may his fire continue to live in us.
Can't hear you yet,
Said,
man. Oh, there you go.
oh,
There you go. You got it.
my mother Ocean. Sorry, she hates being called mother. My mama Ocean. Seen for the first time when I was just a baby, but I don't remember it until I was a early teenager, probably. But I think one time my mom kind of just decided to drive out and dump my brother and I in one of the workshops. David was there as well. Is how to have been introduced of being mindful and experiencing the world, and
Silas, I'm sorry, you're cutting in and out. I don't know if your headset has a low battery or something. That's kind of what it sounds like.
Hold on, I gotta fix this.
Thank you.
How's that? Wait.
Yeah, it's way better.
How's that?
You're
Sorry about
good.
that.
Get it. Thank you.
Constantly fighting with those headphones. Yeah, no, I was just saying. What I just wanted to acknowledge how grateful I feel to have been introduced to the concepts and stuff he was offering and teaching while I was still so young, just a teenager. You know, I think people can go most of their lives not even thinking for a second about some of these things, and then they find themselves in some kind of seminar in the middle of their lives and they're wondering why they're so fucked up. Why they don't understand themselves and why they can't deal with their emotions and why they're angry. And so yeah, that was really special for me too, and I feel so lucky to have been introduced to that type of work. Just being a teenager, and I'll share one memory. The first thing that came to mind when I knew we were sharing stories was we were in the Grand Canyon, and this just goes along with what I just previously said. I forget how it came up, but I had shared to the group. I forget what kind of exercise we were doing, but I had shared to the group that I was having some tension with my dad, and I was holding a lot of anger and different feelings that I didn't quite understand about my relationship with my dad. And he says like, okay, well, we're gonna do this exercise, and I'm gonna be your dad. And I almost shit my pants. I said, you're gonna do what now? And yeah, so we role played, and it was very intense. And Constantine became the spirit of my father in the best way that he could. And I mean, like, who does that as a teenager, getting to experience that kind of work and doing an exercise like that ended up being so profound, and along with the numerous other things that were profound about Constantine. So I just wanted to acknowledge, how grateful I was that he touched my life, and that I got to have those experiences before reaching even full maturity. It definitely had a huge impact on me, and is like one of his favorite movies, The Matrix. You know, I forget which one of those pills takes you into the Matrix, but once you get exposed to that kind of stuff by Connie, there's no going back. There's no going back at all. And yeah, I love seeing everybody here, and I hope to see people in person. And numerous people here have touched my life just as much as Connie did, albeit in different ways. So yeah, love to everybody, and so much gratitude for Constantine. Bye.
I know it's humorous, Stephen, but we can't
There
hear
we
you.
go.
There
Yes,
you go.
testing. There we go. Yeah, we got on earlier today to test this platform, and it was just me and Mara at 4 o'clock, and nope, she couldn't hear me at all. And it took us about, I don't know, half an hour to get things rolling again. I have to apologize for interrupting the slideshow. On my side, there was sound going in and out, so I thought it was blowing up or whatever, but apparently it was working fine for everybody else. So I'm glad that it worked out. I'm sorry for the interruption. I thank you all so very much for coming. The I mean, the moment, from the moment that he died, I'd sort of felt, year 5 and year 10 were going to be important for me. And there's just and so it means a great deal to be able to hold a ceremony like this with everybody. And I just want to thank you on a personal level for being here and coming to this. And for me, I loved hearing Goja's description of Connie and his sovereignty. I think for me, that was one of the things that attracted me to him. I didn't have a word for it, but that describes it. And then, as Alper said, it's like, I want that deep stuff, the thing that you're doing there, not the movement, the real thing that you're doing, the deeper thing. And oh my God, I know, I was like a moth to a flame for that. And I was scarily, dedicated. I get that. And I'm still working on it with my therapist, but it was just something that I wished I could put in a bottle and spread to the world. I thought it was healing. I thought on a personal level, on a community level, and even at that time in a sort of environmental level, like I thought that we had to do better. And I didn't know what the answer was going to be technologically, but I kind of always felt like what he was doing and talking about was how we needed to change as people for our own betterment. And that was a big part of what just kept me going every day as I tried to decode and decipher how he was doing what he was doing. And I never succeeded. But that was why I was such a goddamn mimic. And throwing myself into the forms and into the breathing, because I thought that was how he got where he was in terms of, connection with people, seeing somebody have a mental breakthrough in the middle of a dance class without moving and seeing that. That ability to catch other realms, like what Goja was saying. We were doing a practice. He comes around the corner. He says, "Oh, you crazy kids playing with energy." He was attuned to these ebbs and eddies and waves of people changing from one moment to the next and tracking them. And not just one person at a time, multiple people at a time, and not just change in one dimension, emotional, physical, relationship wise, but each of those dimensions at the same time. And he would say, "Yeah, I'm really stretched out." We'd go to Thetis Lake with the Pearson College kids, and I think there were 16 of us in total. There's some of us from Victoria, Jean-Paul, myself, Alisoon, and then there were these Pearson College kids. Alper was there, David Dwan, Amelia, Sandy Lenz, and he's just like stretched out over everybody at once and feeling all of the changes they're going through, also protecting. Like he would be checking in on them, monitoring, guiding, being a sort of like guiding protective spirit. I don't know how else to say it. And that extended to me, of course. I can't tell you. Yeah, it extended to me. There was one time I was working for him, putting up posters across Victoria, and I had just recently moved from Montreal from my Arabic household where, by God, I was going to grow up to be a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer. And here I was going into dance and theater on the other side of the continent. And had I done the right thing? Did I do the right thing? Am I wasting my time? And I'm putting up posters while I'm arguing in my head with him. In my imagination, I think. And at some point in my conversation with myself, I get to a point of resolution. But I'm an anxious person at times, in case you hadn't noticed. And I sort of whip myself back up and I walk back. I finish my day's work. I get back to the studio. Connie asks me, "How are you doing?" Well, I kind of I'm having doubts about everything. And he says, "I thought we already resolved that." And it wasn't that I was arguing, in my imagination. It was him. It was his presence. And I know it sounds far-fetched, but that was the experience that we constantly had. And there are many other experiences. There's the lovely Cassandra Jewell, Sandra Jordan, who's not here with us right now. And she has a story I think of often when she was having a dream. She's at a river. Connie's on the other side of the river. This was, I don't know when exactly, 96 or so in the canyon. And she looks up and he says something to her in the dream. And it's the next day. And he looks at her. He says the exact same phrase verbatim. You know, and I have, yeah. So that was always, it was always those kinds of things that were propelling me and that I chased ardently for a long time and still in my more mellow way look for still today. And I'll wrap this up and I'll finish it off here, but I think what it always came back down to was doing the work. I hope this is, yeah, it was doing the work. And a big part of his work was, what I mean by that was the Gurdjieff work. And it's this practice where you pay attention to how you operate on automatic pilot. And you don't try and fix things, you just watch. And you watch how you move. You watch how you breathe, how you think, and how you feel. And that gift, that particular practice, his particular way of motivating, at least for me, into doing it, and that has been life-changing. And it has put a bug in my bonnet, trying to get it out there more. So thank you. Thank you for thank you for being here. And thank you for giving me a chance to let go of some things, to open up to old and new things, to let in old and new things, and to flow with whatever comes next. Thank you so very much.
Thanks for gathering us all, Stephen. Thanks for making this happen.
I want
Linda's
that
not there. So original poster, and my mother is on it. She was the counselor. They did a Shawnigan Lake workshop. Is this going back? What's this, 1970? I don't know. What does it say? Chien-lung Association. Yeah, got that one. And Linda and Constantine. These are these old ones I have from my childhood. Oh, hang on. How do I do it? I know, so long ago. There's Linda and Constantine. I think that one may have been in the slideshow. My favorite one. Did you have that one in the slideshow? Oh, hang on. How do I do it? Linda and Constantine with her foot.
Yeah, I don't think we had that one in the slideshow.
Look at that,
Please
like how he has it. I know I have these ones, but I will. I'll send them to you. Yeah, my mom gave me these.
Fantastic. Thank you, everyone, so much for sharing your stories. I think we have time for a couple more stories, or we can simply go to breakouts and let you all kind of see the room list and go talk to whoever you want to. Do we have a vote? Does somebody want to hop into the campfire and keep telling stories?
Yeah, is anybody is your heart racing It's often a sign, as we know, that something wants to threshold into the world. Hi, David.
I'll mention one thing. I think one of the primary things that Constantine inspired in me in the many, many ways that our lives weaved in and out of each other, starting with VAC and and Chien-lung and the Grand Canyon and being with him when he was dying and living in San Rafael and the house there and Vancouver and so many different ways we wove. And we had a lot of challenges, I'll be honest. There were times where I did not have kind words to say to him. And there are moments when I still have a lot of anger towards him. And I also have an immense amount of gratitude. And one thing I've appreciated about this call today is hearing how he impacted other people and having that trigger that memory of actually how that impacted me as well, in ways that I'd forgotten. One in particular, and I say this, his capacity to see people as they are, to actually see their true spirit, was something that woke me up in many ways, and also was something I learned from him in terms of being able to see people where they're at. And I suspect that probably for many of us that are sitting here, being able to be seen deeply for one of the first times in my life, was deeply impactful. So I have a lot of gratitude to him for that. That's all. And it's really beautiful to see some of your faces, or well, all of your faces. I know pretty much all of you from different paths.
I remember a time when it was a dance class and people were talking about some of the profound connections and some of those strange spiritual connections we had sometimes. And I just remember one of those things where we were just doing a dance class and all of a sudden I looked up at him and everybody else in the room just vanished. And there was just he and I. It was the weirdest thing. And then we came back and it was dance class and it was just a moment. And it was like so profound. It was amazing. Yeah. And that profound void that he carried with him, and somehow I managed to fall into that during that canyon trip, which I remember that, David, you had to leave that right at the beginning, and I was very sad because we'd gone to Cougar, you took us to Cougar, what was it, Cougar Falls or Cougar Lake or something? Do you remember that? Cougar Campground in Washington? David?
Oh yeah, I remember that trip very much.
It was a ground shaking 5 weeks.
Yeah.
My heart's racing a little bit too right now, David, and I'm just thinking, I just want to say in front of everybody that's here, it's like you carried some of the shadow sometimes of a group experience, and I loved I appreciate your fire and your magnanimousness with which you kept coming back, and bring that shadow, a voice to that shadow was it's a skill that we perhaps each learned in a different way with our experience with each other and Constantine. So that was the work we were doing, but you weren't afraid of it. You brought your own version of dignity to that work, and I just want to say thank you for that. Maybe 20 years later.
Thank you, everyone. I believe we're about to give you a magical musical snack to wrap up this part of the event.
Blessings, everyone. My name currently is Danalia Castell, but back when I met Constantine, my name was Nancy Guest, and I was completely shaved-headed. And it was, I believe, back in 1995 or 1996, I was part of a playback theater group with Robert, and our group met Constantine's group. And so we were these pods that bumped into each other. As I've been listening and feeling and hearing and remembering the threads that each of you have woven in, I have this mixture of soulful ether, air, white leopard, timelessness of Constantine, this eternalness of his soul. And I'm drawn to sing one piece of music. And then there's the warrior part of me that connects with the earth, and the warrior part of Constantine, who was always pushing the envelope, always playing within his own sphere of inquiry and deep commitment to life. So I'm going to, I think, honor both sides. So the first piece I'm going to sing is a version of Amazing Grace, which came to me during the year I met a number of waterfalls in Alaska. And I went on to become an eco-artist and to discover an ability to communicate with water and trees. And this version of Amazing Grace came through because of water's tremendous abundance of continually flowing to give us life. Without respite, it pours over the top of the hills. And when I think of Constantine, for me, his spirit is this eternal waterfall, which pours with this ferocity of life-giving energy. And so I honor him with this flow of Amazing Grace. Amazing grace, amazing grace, how sweet you are to me. We once was lost, but now we're found. We were blind, but now we see. We were blind, but now we see. We were blind, and now we see. We were blind, and now we see. Beloved Constantine, Thank you, brother teacher, deep mystery seeker. Thank you for helping us to see fully who we are and push us beyond the limitations of our own fears to embrace the mystery as it calls us to serve this one precious life that we have been given to live. Now I want to bring in a different energy, just a little bit to bring us into our feet on the ground. To just really acknowledge that we are the ones that we've been waiting for. This is the last track from my Thank You Water CD, and you know these words from the Hopi prophecy. Do not look outside of ourselves for a leader, but this is the time of community. Another legacy that Constantine has left us with. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the ones, We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the ones, Wake deep within, wake our knowing and begin, and begin, and begin. Wake deep within, wake our knowing and begin, and begin, and begin. Feel free to sing with me. There are simple words, and feeling that pressure of Constantine's spirit behind us, asking us to go deeper and to sing wider and to step forward with our gifts. Here we go. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the ones, your turn. We are the ones we are the ones,
We are the ones,
And the next line, wake deep within, wake our knowing and begin. Here we go. Wake within, wake our knowing and begin, and begin, and begin. Wake deep within, wake our knowing and begin, and begin, and begin. Thank you, beloved brother. We walk in your memory and we walk with the love of life. Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
To the next chapter, everyone.
So, is this thing on? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, super. Hey, this is Dave's dog. I shouldn't be doing this. It's David. David!
Sorry, what?
Oh. You want to close us out? Or should I just go ahead? Yeah.
Stephen, I think you should tell us a joke.
A really bad one.
Yeah. Come on.
Okay.
Hit us with your best.
Okay. What's a thumbtack?
A thumbtack?
What's a thumbtack? A turned on Smartie. Ah! You said bad. Right?
It is so bad that I don't even understand.
I know, I'm trying to get it. Oh no.
Okay.
It's a lot of poops.
Okay.
Yeah, that was bad.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I think that, ladies and gentlemen, that closes the circle. And thank you, Dee, for that incredibly uplifting song and communication. And what we're going to do next is just open the spaces. So there are other rooms, and yes, there they are. They're on the side. They are named after elements and places that Constantine had visited, or are related to places that Constantine had visited. There's the water of the Havasupai. The earth is a lava tube in Maui, and from one of Constantine's visits. It's a picture that was taken by one of his group then. The air is the Haleakala mountaintop that we were just at, and the fire is a photograph from one of the volcanoes in Hawaii. And people are welcome to go into each of these rooms and to have conversation with each other. I would ask and invite that, as in this free form, with conversation that is emotionally potent, bring everything that you can to the sanctity or delicacy of the conversations that may be happening there. So if people are talking, provide support. That's the only thing I could think to suggest, and I hope I'm not sounding too authoritarian or anything.
Thank you so much, Stephen. Can I give just a little bit of
Yeah.
Let me give just a little bit of a wrap up here.
Okay.
Thank you everyone so much